Hello and welcome to Connections Forum for Relationship, Expression and Healing. This is episode 64, and today we have our special guest, who is also my co-host, Heidi Hornlein. And our topic today is Discord to Harmony, the Music of Life. So our show offers single episodes and short series of talks and interviews regarding the most important areas of human life, such as relationship issues, personal expression and self-development, and as well healing of these areas. The purpose of our show is to give you inspiration and also teach you new skills with which to handle the issues which are connecting with our topics. So you can also view our replays on our website, Hangout on Connections. And a little bit about me. I'm Margherita Crystal Lotus. I'm a life and business mentor. I work with women and helping them to remove stress and discord in their life so they can actually rebuild their relationships, find their mission, and see their career flourish. So you can connect with me on thecrystallotus.com. And now over to my co-host, Heidi Hornlein.
Yeah, hello, I'm Heidi Hornlein, and as you have heard today, I'm in the position of the guest, let's say, because we will be talking about something which is very interesting to me and my research in how things come together, how I can integrate the things I have learned in my life. So the title is From Discord to Harmony. We are living so much in discord with other people, and we don't like what the world is about, what is happening, and we are unhappy more of the time and feel bad. And this is not necessary. We can create harmony. We think harmony is something for other people who by chance have a better life and we are kept out, but that's not the case. So today I want to bring you a little bit into the notion of harmony and how we can create harmony for our lives.
So I'm very curious here, Heidi. So what has harmony to do with voice? What and how did you come up with this topic for today?
Oh, harmony has to do much with music, and for that also with voice. You can hear, for instance, when people speak, do they have an harmonic voice, or is their voice a little bit like this, or like this, or there are many ways, but you have a feeling if this is a person who is speaking with a harmonic voice or is a harmonic person. But most and foremost, it is in music that harmony is a big concept. And actually also in philosophy, the harmony of the spheres is a concept which the old Greeks have already thought about, I think many of you will know this concept. Spheres, music, exactly. And I came to notice these things about 20 years ago when a person, a German jazz musician, had in the radio a show which is called The World is Sound, and here's the recording. It's in German, so you won't have it in English, but maybe the book you can find in English. And he is called Joachim Ernst Behrendt. He's dead now, but he found out about the overtone singing and introduced it to the audience, to a larger audience. And from there, all sorts of New Age movements also in music appeared. And overtone singing, you may have heard about it, is a way of singing, not melodies, da 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 da, as we do it in our music, but it is not a follow-up of several notes, but it is a static sound, and it's a vertical development of the so-called harmonics. And the harmonics are, how can I say that, partial sounds of the basic sound, which are always present, more or less, but they are present. Every sound has harmonics, and the quality of a sound depends on the amount of harmonics which are developing by the basic sound.
That a little bit, because that's a little confusing to hear. So let's say you make a sound, but that sound creates other sound. Is that correct? Like the overtones are other. So you have a note, you can sing it or play it, but there is more notes above it. Is that what overtones is?
Yes, overtones are a whole range of specific intervals which appear contemporaneously with the basic sound. If you had only the basic sound, you would hardly hear anything. So it is an expansion of this basic sound. On the piano, when you click on one of these, you have a sound. On a real piano, it would be very easy to show you that at the same time with this sound, you would hear this sound, and you would hear also this sound, and also this, and this, and this, and this. Lower, probably, but they are all parts of the basic sound. And in singing, overtone singing, you can make them hear, you can make them perceive. I mean, many people who do chanting in their spiritual lives, they might have stumbled over it, that you hear higher sounds. Somewhere in the air there are higher sounds, and nobody sings with a high voice. But they are there, and that's exactly what the overtones are.
Like the choir in a Gothic church, for example, where I grew up in Sweden, it's like the sound of the choir singing, and then there was like angels. You could hear angels, let's say, because it expanded. Whoa, like levels and levels and levels. And I think that the choir master of the time, or the church, used that a lot in to actually bring in people to the church and believers and stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, the churches were built in the way that the overtones were favorized in some way, you know, that they could come out of the sounds. And for instance, Gregorian chanting is a sort of overtone chanting, different than the Eastern ways, but it is. And it is said that in Pisa, in the Duomo of Pisa, when there is a special place where when you emanate a sound there, it is splitting up in all the overtones. So it would be a reason to go to Pisa and to sing a tone right in this place. Anyway, I can try to do it with my voice. What you need to listen to is, probably you won't hear these as tones which appear, but as some little bells or some noises which are higher than the sound I actually sing. And I will do that, and afterwards I will explain how I do it. I'm not really an expert in that, but I used it for many reasons, and in my workshops when I did workshops on singing. So I'm using a very low sound, let's say like this.
Wow, I feel that in the back of my head. It's like the whole skull was like, boo.
I don't know if you heard that, but I did from very high. I went down the scale of the harmonics until I arrived at the low sound. It's unfortunately I'm not really able to make it loud. There are experts who are practicing that every day, and they can make it really loud, these overtones. So anyway, these are what we also call harmonics of a tone. And the interesting thing why I bring this up is, you know, what we think or what we feel as harmony, first of all, has changed over the centuries, over the time. At the beginning, as harmony were only perceived octaves, then later fifths, and then thirds, you know, and then so on, like the harmonic scale. It was a development in music writing. There were times when people didn't want to hear thirds. They found them ugly and disturbing. And now the thirds are the most, you know, harmonic thing. We are the alpinists in Italy, they're always singing in thirds, and the popular music, I mean, folk music often uses the thirds as accompaniment of the melody. So it's really very normal now. Then there, in the Baroque area, normally are considered as very disturbing. It sounds like this together, for instance. Let's say this. You would feel it like, but these how do you say, excuse me, consounding of two notes which are disturbing each other in our ears were used to create a tension which then could be resolved in the perfect harmony of the harmonic system of that time. And then in the last century came up the 12-tone music, and this was a little bit difficult to understand, to get used to listen to these harmonies, which were not what we think would be a harmony. And you know what I wanted to say in connection with the scale of the harmonic sounds, when you go higher and higher in the scale of the harmonics, you will find all sounds, all sounds, even the most nearest one. And they are part of the basic sound. So they are not in discord, they are part of it. They're there. And we slowly, in our habit, are able to hear the harmonic character of the notes, which before seemed to be disturbing and irritating, which we didn't like.
So can we do an example of that, so people could actually see that, oh, that's the sound when you do it, when you're speaking or you're toning, so we can have it pegged down.
I don't know what you mean. What sort of example?
Yeah, like if somebody's talking and they're angry, let's say, there is a different discord, and then because I think this is also used for when you're talking in relationship and communication.
Oh, sure.
So I'm meaning, like, can you find a way of speaking or toning or something like that, that's the raw thing, and then it releases, like in a conversation, let's say.
Okay, I will start with common knowledge that a person who is quiet and in peace with himself has a low voice. You know, after in the morning when you get up and you are not in stress immediately, but you get up, so you have a lower voice than normally. And when you are in stress or you are angry, then the voice goes up and up and up and up. And you know, this is the pitch, but it's also, it uses different harmonic, you know, the higher harmonics, which are a little bit stridolo in Italian, strident, I think, in English, you know. So the emotion can be heard, for instance, in the quality of the voice. Different emotion, the more you know the person, the more you can hear in the voice what the emotional state is of the person by the voice. And what I wanted to say, the more you are quiet, the more open is your voice to let all the harmonics in and creates a big, let's say, concert of sounds at the same time. And when you are not quiet, you exclude certain parts of the harmonic scale. And that leads me to another thing. The difference between in the sound of different instruments lies in the fact that different instruments playing the same tone accentuate or reinforce different stations of the harmonic scale. So the difference of a flute and a trumpet, for instance, is that they reinforce different harmonics in the scale. So they have it all when they play the same tone, but some are louder and some are less loud. And this gives the characteristic of the sound of the instruments and also of the voice. Sometimes the voice sounds like an instrument singing up in high. Somewhere you think it's a flute to play. So, but I think it was.
How could we use it? Can you do an exercise, sort of like teaching something? Like how do you actually do it for yourself?
Do what?
Yeah, do this practice that. Like to see, like it's like you being a church chamber or a church.
Oh, yeah.
Your big lungs and stuff like that, and you feel like you're a church room or a big opera hall, whatever, and coming from that place, and then
yeah, now we come to the synthesis point, which I said at the beginning. You can do that only working on the voice, for instance, or working on the instrument, getting out the best sound. At least you think you work only on the voice, but in fact you don't. You work also on yourself. And you know, you can be technically good with your fingers on the piano, but if the person is not open, then the sound won't be. So what I am lately understanding is that for me it's better the other way around. You know, your state of emotions, your state of stato d'anima, of the soul, is seen in what your voice does and or what you are creating with your instrument. So I wouldn't work anymore as much as I did before on the mere physical voice production thing. Yes, they are good, but I would more work on the harmonization of the person. Get out the discord inside of the person to find the harmony in the person, and then what this person produces and sound with a little bit of exercise. You cannot do only one. You need some exercise. It's not that you wake up the next day and you are a perfect opera singer or a perfect pianist or something. You still have to do that, but you know, the other side is at least as important as the rein pure mechanical side of the music. So creating harmony in oneself. So what does it mean? You want to know? You wanted a practice, didn't you?
Yeah, like how could we interact with you, and then you share with us how, okay, how do I hold my body? How do I feel? Like a little tips of that.
You know, exactly that's what I don't do, because there are too many prescriptions and how to be upright, how to be bam, 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 bam. And this is so much exterior tips, which are only, let's say, correcting the symptoms, but they don't go to the nucleus of the thing. I have learned my singing by many of these teachings. They told me do that, do that, do that, do that, and I didn't go to the point where I wanted to go. So I finally discovered the other way. I first go into myself and I first explore my body, my spirit, my mind, my psychology. And from there, then, the body is such a good animal. It does it by itself. Really, it is following us like a good dog, you know.
That's so reassuring, Heidi. I'm going to see myself as a good dog to myself.
Absolutely. And the thing, especially with singing, is because we are our instrument. It's a little bit different than when you learn an instrument. Our body is the instrument. So with singing, people often just force the body too much, force their psyche too much. They want to create something. And instead of preparing the field so everything can develop organically. And this is my credo, you know. Prepare the field so that the body can do what it naturally likes to do, when it is free, when it's not like this, you know, and constricted with a position upright or something like this. No. Yeah, upright, yes, but not in this way. Yeah,
well,
and this
is good news, because I mean, I've had taken singing lessons, and then they tell you this one and this one, and I mean, I wasn't really good at it, but you know, this what you're saying is so amazing. We just relax and prepare to feel good, and then it happens natural. That's a good news, I think.
Yeah, you know, yes, relax is good and feel good is good, but it's not enough, you know. You also have to prepare your body, and for instance, for singing, also for playing brass, how do you say, brass instruments like flute and trumpet, you need to have quite a solid amount of muscles in your belly, in your body region, and they have to be trained, but not overtrained. They don't have to be, for instance, men often have a really tight stomach, and this doesn't really help. And women often have no muscles at all in that region. So you have to have a trained body, the whole body, which is easily responding, which is not tight, which is in a constant, how do you say, alertness of what the body, or she, the body, how you want to say it, the body, I don't think it's an it, anyway, responding to what is going on. And if I want to sing a note, and you know, when I'm relaxed like this, I would sing, it's not, no? So you have to have a certain readiness of the body to sing, or like this, you know. And when you have to sustain high notes, you have really to have the muscles ready to do that, because if you just shout out a high note and don't have the body support, it won't work. And then to find out what the support is, this is a really tricky thing, because we think we have to do something and to press something, and so it's not true. As I said before, the body knows what to do when you allow it to do. And this is more a mental process to prepare yourself and to be in peace with you. And we come now to the next part, which I want to talk about, because we have so many inner voices. And the voice of the critic says, that was not good. You should do it better. I knew you never can do that. If you have that one, and everybody has it, by the way, but if you listen to that one and allow to be conditioned by that one, then whatever you do won't be as good as it could be. Let's say in this way. So what I am now really passionate about is to teach people how to harmonize these inner voices. You know, this inner critic has had a function and still has a function, but not the role which normally we give them. We normally is the, or she, the boss, you know, with many people. Not all, depends a little bit of the typology of the people, but many of us have this inner critic very, very strongly, and it's really hindering us to do our best, let's say. Then there are other many voices who are in constant conflict with each other, no? For instance, chocolate. I always think about chocolate. I don't have any more today, but I say today I won't eat chocolate. And as long as I have it, then I go there and eat it. And then the other voice says, you shouldn't have done that. You said you are not reliable when you do this. First you say you don't do it, and then you do it. And then the other voice says, oh yeah, this is a sort of a reward. You have been so good in studying all the time or doing your work. You can have that. And the other voice
it's like coffee, right? I can have another coffee. Yes. Oh. So I have put the limit on myself. I have to control myself. Right now, I have 2 coffees a day.
And do you listen to the voices? Who is speaking? Because it's not always the same one. There might be several, and often they are in open conflict with each other. And we, as the person, try to figure out what we should do, and we end up in the whole, you know, all the voices shouting at the same time. And we just do the next thing, you know. Listen to the first, we hear loudest. And this is not harmony, you know. This is just a sort of a momentarily, how do you say when you don't shoot anymore, but there is no peace yet? Calm.
Armistice.
What is it?
Armistice.
Armistice. It's a word. It's not
Truce.
in my vocabulary.
Truce.
What?
I'm going to acknowledge a guest here that we have. Nicole Levac is here. And,
good. Hi, Nicole.
She says it's great to talk about the inner critic. I'm loving the conversation. I have those voices going on in my head too. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, just let's show up her comment to have it also on the video. Wonderful. Yeah, and the inner critic logically is the one which we suffer from most. But there are others, you know, the sneaky ones who bring us to things we don't want to do, as we said with the coffee and the chocolate. I would call it an inner family, and it's like an old family, you know, with grandmother and the whole generations before, and a lot of small children. And everybody says something different. And mainly people try to silence these voices which they don't like. Put them in the cellar with no food, no water, and hope that they that they are gone.
Go away, you know. They are not
gone. They are still in the cellar without water, and the longer they are there without food, the more they will come up. And in the moment you really don't want them to come up. So what we have learned, I think most of us have learned it, and still people learn, is to suppress these voices and then pretend they are not there. This is not the way. We need to learn to not only accept them, but to embrace them, to acknowledge them for their existence and for their willingness, because they are all willing to save you or to help you. They are all in your support, only that they got the instructions in a time of your life which is over. What they know about life is probably something which, let's say, a 4-year-old child about life and how to resolve the problems. For instance, if they didn't want to do anything, what the parents said, then they just stamped on the ground and don't do it. And, and when this didn't work, then they, okay, I do it. And they tried to be friendly. And so they learned to hide themselves. They learned to hide who they really are, you know, because they wanted to be accepted in this family from the parents or aunts or whoever is there. So, in fact, these voices in us are younger parts of us who are still operating in the mindset of that time of our life. And so, when we try to shut them in the cellar, as I said before, is probably what happened before with us, because parents didn't want to hear this voice speaking in us, and so they sort of put us in the cellar and negated this part, this way of us being in that time. So when we negated these voices now, we do the same, very same thing which our caregivers did with us. So we are, instead of resolving anything, we are perpetuating the same situation. So as I said before, we need to see these little voices. They may even be not so little. They may be persons of 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, always younger than we are now, with less knowledge, with less wisdom than we have now. And we need to see them for what they are, acknowledge their existence, and then find a way to, how to say, to give them their place in our lives, to give them their role, and not allow them to take over leadership. We, our, let's say, recent adult self, takes over leadership. It probably is the one who knows most about the world and about the things which are going on and how to handle this. At least more than a 4-year-old, I'm quite sure. So creating harmony in these inner voices is like having many, many people in the same room, let's say 200 people, everybody singing one sound, independent from each other. All different sounds, you know, not even in our music scale system, just without sounds which normally would be heard as disharmonic, dissonant. But when there are 100 people singing them together, we are creating a huge harmony. This, to listen to this, it's like a sacred moment. I have lived it several times, and it's really soul-warming, heart-warming, everything.
Yeah,
so
that's so great that I'm seeing it inside of it's like radio stations in my head, and there is many thoughts going on. But now, when you said about that, each one can have her say, and then I'm going back to that church feeling. You're in the church and you hear all of my inner voices. I can hear all my inner voices singing in harmony, and that it feels so good. It's like, yeah.
absolutely. Every inner voice, when we want to say it in this way, has its tone. And singing all together, this creates a harmony. If one comes out and with a sound like, you know, it is disturbing the harmony. So we need to create this connection between the inner voices to really, that they are able to be near each other without wanting to kick each other off, and to create this big choir of sounds where everybody has his, her place. You know, and this is the important part. And we, adult person, are the chooser. We choose, like a director of a choir, now you have the solo part, you have the solo part, and now you, and now you. And so everybody feels seen, everybody has something to say, because the critic, we need the critic, you know, we do need it in the right moment. If we don't have the critic, it's a disaster. But we don't need him all the time. So give the inner voices the right place. And there are processes to learn that, to get into contact with these inner voices, to take care for them first, create trust, because most of these inner voices which we have rejected for so long time, we try to kill even, you know, they don't trust us. When we come now and say, yeah, I see you and I want you to cooperate, they say, no, it's too late. So you need to do some work to get into a good contact with these voices and to create friendship and trust. It's nothing else than what we do between humans. The same thing, only that this process has to happen first inside. And this is my big credo. If we are able to create this harmonization inside of us, where everybody has a right to be there. Everybody is acknowledged, appreciated for what is their qualities, their possibilities, and their role. The same thing in the world. Doing this in ourselves, we can do it with our partners, with our friends, with our country, with in the countries between each other. And this, for me, it's the ultimate way to create peace. Not go out and shout, we need peace and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, good. But as long as you shout it with anger, how do you create peace?
So I want to ask you, this is what you do for people, right? This is the service that you actually do. It's like so amazing to have a resource like that.
Yeah, actually, so far I'm working one-on-one in coaching, and to explore these voices which are really too loud in the present life and so create damage to the person and hinder them to do the things, for instance, which they want to do, but they feel the passion to do, and there's always some voice which puts them down. And as an example, yeah, and we explore that, which voices there are, and we learn to get into contact with these voices and to take care for them in the right way and to integrate them. This is the integral part which comes in. These are integral concepts, to not to separate but to integrate. Harmony is created by integration and not by separation. Yeah, and what my intent is to do that on a bigger scale, also here on Google Hangouts, and to create courses about that, because I find it so important that people learn to create inner harmony and real harmony, not thinking that I'm harmonious because I have pushed away the other voices, but by embracing all the, we could also call it shadow parts which we have, all the things we don't really like in ourselves, or the things we would get rid of, by embracing and integrating them, and so become whole as a human being. This is a process. It's not done from one day to the other, but it is very rewarding, and it finally gives a big shift in existence. I certainly have lived that after many years of looking for it and trying this and trying that, spirituality and blah, 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 psychotherapy and all the other things. And then I found it, and it's so much easier than I thought. And so my intention is to do that. I think I will begin in about half a year. I will bring out a course.
That's amazing. I mean, you are really a treasure here. You are. I mean, to have a mentor to go to like you, Heidi, it's like you, and then they can see you. You can feel what you can do, and then you're explaining this here is very valuable for somebody who wants to actually coordinate their own inner stuff, the inner voices, I would say.
Yeah, and also the outer voice, because there are so many people around who have a voice which is not really nice. No, when you need to listen to somebody talking all the time like this, and a talk of an hour, you get And for me, this is an expression of an inner constriction. And if people can learn to lose the inner constriction and then transport it to the voice technique, let's say, together, these are two things together, they just have a different emanation. I'm very aware of how I'm talking, if I'm talking in a relaxed way, or if I'm talking when I'm nervous, when something happens, some Google glitches or so, then I go into another way, and then my voice gets higher and higher, and and less, let's say, less nice to listen to.
Less authentic, right?
Yeah, and this is exactly what it is, because many people think they are authentic, but their voice doesn't say it. They talk in a monotonous way, and even if the things which they say seem to be authentic and they believe that it's really what they, but the emotion, where's the emotion? I cannot hear it in the voice, you know. So for me, this is coming together, these two parts of my passions, the voice and, let's say, the inner voices, and the harmonization of self and peace in the world. So this is the big picture.
So how can people actually contact you? What would be the best way for people to contact you if they're interested in personal coaching, let's say?
Oh yeah, always on Google Plus, ping me, and when you write a message, please write something more and not just hello, because if somebody writes only hello and doesn't say what it is about, I don't answer. Please, then we have the power of relationship here in the lower third, no? You can send me a message there also, and there are many ways to contact me. It's quite easy. And then we do a session, discovery session, and see if this is a fit for you. If you are ready to do that work, because you need to be ready. If you want only a quick fix, quick fixes, no. It is relatively quick and more quick than you think, but it's not a recipe. It's really more profound work, and not everybody is ready to do that. Many people want to maintain their outside appearance as it is, and I don't want to change. I want to stay as I always was. Okay, you have every right to do so, but change is only possible when you really change, and not think you would change and then stay the same afterwards. It's not.
Wow, this was a very nice final words, I think, because we're coming to the end of our episode today. And Heidi, would you like to say something more about this?
No, I think I have said more or less the outline of what it is about. Discovering your authentic voice in the world, you could call the whole thing, by integrating all the voices into a wonderful harmonic choir.
I mean, I think for me personally, I felt like you've summarized the inner voices and connected it to how we speak and how we relate in our life, and that was really great, connecting the dots here. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
If you want to continue watching Connections Forum, we are meeting every Thursday, most of the time, on 10 Eastern and 3 o'clock Central Time Europe, right?
4 o'clock in Europe.
4 o'clock in Europe, yeah.
And next week it should be Gail Harris with us, and to talk about how is it that you become a writer.
Okay, with that,
and bye-bye.
Okay, we say bye-bye.